blue, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the flower. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
This intro never quite feels long enough. But here I am. Welcome. It's Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. And this is Aaron, and I am doing secret stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit. I just had an energy drink, so I'm freaking wired, man. This is an unpaid advertisement from the human being. Now, my daughter, this is one of her multi-jobs. She dances, she teaches dance, and she works as a barista. But also, my daughter's best friend, Ella, is staying with us this summer, and she also works there. And I give Ella the shout out. She brought me this massive energy drink. My head is freaking exploding right now, but I'm ready to rock and roll. So there you go. Welcome, everybody. It's Sunday, the 9th of August already. Can you believe that? We're going to be talking about Christmas presents before you know it. And I also want to point out that I was on time. Thank you very much. And anyway, was babysitting for 6 hours yesterday. And that's why I'm a little tired. Shelly is completely wiped out. And that's why artificial sugar and caffeine stimulants are sometimes what's needed. And I just saw a like a meme or something on Facebook that Christopher Lambert from Highlander fame and Tarzan, 69 years old, only 7 years older than me, collapsed at a show convention. And now I don't know if what the deal was, or if he's okay or anything like that. I don't mean to make light of the situation, but that's why I don't do cons. If I'm going to collapse, I want it to be right here. And I may collapse when I crash after this. But anyway, prayers out to Christopher Lambert. Hopefully he's doing okay. I'm sure he probably is, but you never know. You get old and things happen. And but I try to keep moving. So if I collapse, I'll actually probably be walking, and then I'll hit the floor and break in about 5 pieces, and that'll be it. But despite my advancing age, I am still producing some kick butt work. If I do say so myself, I can't show you what it is, but it's pretty cool. So when I can, I will. So I have taken a little side work here and there. And so just did that this weekend. But anyway, here we are. Let's see who's here. Big show, humongous show today. Can you tell I'm wired? Humongous show, tons of stuff to get to, and we'll get to all of it as I promised. Okay, Stealth is here. Creative Faye joining us. Said, did I have a good church service today? It was good. It's always good. We have a really good church. Bible teaching church. We go verse by verse through the Bible in order, and it just takes years to get through, and then they start over, and we start over and keep going through. And it's a great way, instead of jumping around, and doing a verse here and then, it's a great way to kind of really learn the whole Bible and really get exposed to everything in it. So there you go. Repairman Jack says, "Hey, Ron, so where was your seat at the 1942 Oscars? Was it a good seat?" See, this is someone in the chat, Repairman Jack, trying to be funny, and this is your reward. Actually, my daughter and I took pictures of my daughter, like in a, she got a haircut a couple years ago. And I was like, if you do this just right, you'd look like a 40s movie star. So we put her in like a turtleneck, kind of, not a turtleneck, but kind of would look like a 40s type sweater. I think we got it from my mom, who was actually around in the 40s. And I took some pictures of her, like glamour shots of like if she was an actress in the 40s. And they turned out really well. I was quite impressed with myself. I was like, oh, I could be a photographer. But anyway, so I do, even though Hollywood was as morally corrupt as they are today, at least we didn't know about it. Well, I wasn't there, but at least people didn't know about it back then. And so, yeah, I kind of dig the 40s. I was watching, I just watched a movie. I'm going to give you my Spider-Man review today too. I forgot about that. Oh, I got to write that in here. I just, Spider. I didn't even advertise that. I should have put that on there. Spider-Man review. A non-spoiler review, of course. Okay, that's now on my list of things to do. I'm so freaking wired. Anyway. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh, so I don't even know what I was talking about. I guess the glamour age of Hollywood or whatever. Oh, I remember what it was. So I watched this movie called The Beginning of the End on Tubi, which was like a giant locust movie, but it starred Peter Graves, a young, very young Peter Graves. And you might remember him from Mission Impossible or from Airplane. He was the pilot, the main pilot in Airplane, the first movie. Anyway, man. Okay, first of all, the girl in there had this like, she had this shirt blouse thing on, but the collar up, right? And her hair was all curled and perfect. And she had this nice like skirt on and really stylish. I said to my daughter, I go, would you wear that now if you had it? She goes, oh, absolutely, I would. And then the dude, Peter Graves, had this nice pleated pants on, and this nice shirt. He had a jacket, a very cool jacket, not like a sports coat jacket, but kind of this was in the 50s. But I thought, man, I'd wear all that stuff. Not the dress, of course, but anyway, I don't really know what the point of all that was, except that I'm wired, man, on energy drinks. So anyway, here we go. Says, can't wait to see what movie Aaron voted for his best picture. Talking about 1942. Is that another age joke? We need a sketch where all the Greybeards are being shot out of a cannon. It is funny how the cannon shot is migrated to Greybeards. And actually, I use the cannon more on Greybeards, which has become a more uncivilized chat than my own show. So what can I say? Pastmaster Dan is here. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. He says only 10 subs from 4.5K. If you're not subbed to this channel, will you please hit the subscribe button? I have been floundering. I should be at 10,000 subs right now. I should be that popular. But I'm not. And you know what I think it is? I think it's ageism. I think people look at me and go, I don't want to listen to that old guy, but I'm an old guy with wisdom. You should want to listen to me. So sub to the channel if you haven't already. Please, it makes me feel better about myself. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. Okay, this is waiting for airline. That is BS. I was here on time at 3 o'clock. I'm falsely accused of lateness all the time. Pantheon's here. Let's see. Michelle Bowers, lady with a sword. You watch out for her. She's here. Pantheon. Did I just say that? I think I did. Matthew Mumont. Matthew is in my corner. That guy supports me, and I appreciate Matthew. Pity Maw's here. Yeah, I was just about to sing your praises, and you're calling me a freaking old man. Sorry about that, Pity Maw. Normally, I have great affection for Pity Maw, but apparently not right now. Best Age Comics is here. Repairman Jack with some words of wisdom says, did you know It should be a Thompson screwdriver, not a Phillips screwdriver. That bastard stole it. Wow. You know, a lot of people say that about like uh, Edison and um, oh, dude, I just forgot his name. Tesla. You know that Edison stole a lot from Tesla, but hey, you know what are you gonna do? I guess Edison was a real jerk, but he gave us motion pictures. Let's see. JP Roca's here. The infamous Mr. Kirst is joining us. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is here. Unintelligent design. My eldest is a dancer too. I had no idea. How about that? Now this guy's from down under though. Unintelligent design is an Aussie, I believe, right? Yeah, I remember telling Sergio Corello came to my table at San Diego one year and we were talking. And he said, "What's your daughter up to?" I go, "Oh, well, she's dancing and blah, blah, blah." And he goes, he thought he goes, "Your daughter's a stripper?" It's like, no, my daughter is not a stripper. You know, interpretive art, dance, you know, dance, performance art. Wow. My daughter is not a stripper. Okay. Let's see who else is here. Sideshow Monkey joining us. How about that? Pantheon says, speaking of exploding heads, I have that feeling every time I watch this show. Oh my gosh, just the disrespect is starting to flow. Boombots is here. Says he has he says I have Mars Madness. I always have Mars Madness. Bolton Saijing is here. There's Jimmy. Hey, Aaron. Again, unfortunately, can't stay. Thank you for everything. Jimmy, read your messages on Twitter, please. Thanks for joining us, though, Jimmy. Even for a short time. Eric M. Boyds is here. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, is joining us. Pantheon says, Aaron, you know, every time you draw against David Williams, you feel like collapsing. Oh. I don't know what's going on in the chat today. Cursed Heart Creation is here. Well, let's see. What do we got going here? Doc Brewski for $4.99. Thank you, Doc. He says, I had to go back and verify my address and pay for shipping on IGG for Barbaric Adventures. Just a heads up for everyone. I just look at this is a blanket apology for the complicated mess that Indiegogo has become. And I thank you guys for supporting the campaign despite their flaws. Thank you, Doc. And I know I keep talking about opening one on Kickstarter, and I am, but I haven't done it yet. So when we get closer to the finish line, I will. Jimmy Owens, 440 joules, Unk Alert. You guys and your joules, I don't really fully understand. We did get an explanation, kind of, that like a joule is half a cent or something. So, but thank you. I appreciate that, everyone. Creative Face says, this is one of Dave Sims' complaints was too much anecdotal preaching and none of Bible reading when he tried church. He's got to find the right one, and it's difficult sometimes, especially in this day and age, unfortunately. Marcus Killer says, I'm watching the Justice League animated series on Tubi. Tubi, if you want to watch like obscure Bigfoot movies and weird monster movies and 50s stuff, and apparently Justice League animated, there's a lot of good stuff on Tubi. You just have to get through. There's advertisements every, 15, 20 minutes or whatever. But, you get to see a lot of stuff. Like I watched all the Sinbad movies recently on Tubi because they're just there and it's free. So you just have to suffer through the commercials. Paul Taylor letting us know Peter Graves was also in Stalag 17. And I haven't seen that in a long time, but I'll take your word for it. Let's see. Boyd says, oh, dang, that's on Tubi. Prepares to leave the show. Roberto wants to know, why don't I love him? Because this is what happens every time I post like something on Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, that says, look, this is a picture I drew for my son as a gift. And they're like, hey, Dad, I'm your new son. And where's my art? So Roberto is adopting me, apparently. Paul Taylor, the Doc Brewski, look at that. Everybody's like, Justice League is on Tubi. Everybody's leaving. Art Haida. Thank you, Art. Appreciate that. Those Spider-Man drawings you posted are great. I appreciate that very much. Plenty of good movies from 1942, says Balton Saijing, and he is correct. We'll get to that a little bit later. Jimmy says, I had no idea how jewels work, but I said all I had. Thank you. That's so appreciate that, Jimmy. Iodine 74 is here. Sequential Treasures wants me to be on his channel again, trying to sucker me in. It's just repeating it. Yeah, Edison was a notorious thief, says Doc Brewski. Cursed Heart Creation. Edison did some really horrible stuff. Let's see here. They're talking about strippers now. Let's see here. There's Stealth 5 for $2, says hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate that. Unhinged Ent. He says, do you listen to audiobooks while working? Check out American Giants. If so, some good Bigfoot stuff there. Oh, thank you. I go through phases. I'll listen to music, or I'll listen to there's like some podcast shows on Nebraska football I listen to. I also listen to The Narrow Path, which is a Bible, really good Bible teacher. And he has verse by verse stuff. So I listen to that too, the lectures on that while I'm drawing. But then I go and I just go through stages. I should listen to audiobooks because I don't read. Art of Roy's got it. Yes. Do you like watching gladiator movies? That is indeed Peter Graves. Bibliobob is here. Aaron is a great linguist. I'm sure that's an insult. Okay, here we go. Every time I do a show with you, Sequential Treasures, you try and talk me into doing another show with you. And I don't have time, and yet you're relentless. So that's what scares me off. Morning Haze says 1,000 joules and corgi. That's a dog. I don't understand how this works, but so that would be 1,000 joules would be 500 cents, which would be $5. Is that right? Thank you, Morning Haze. I appreciate that. Yeah, Immoral Fat 40 ounces says reading is gay. Okay, Art of Roy, I'm not going to read that. Okay, so anyway, let's get this freaking show on the road, and we do that by why is this window open? All right, here we go. I got all this stuff set up, and I got to find where everything is. As soon as I clean up my desktop, it gets out of order again. But we're going to do this. I say go big or go home, and we're going to go big. We're jumping. Been doing a lot of Golden Age books, which you can do all day because all of them are expensive. But, I want to kind of move a little bit more into the, it's still the Silver Age, but now check this out. Fantastic Four #1. Now this was in April 2022. Fantastic Four #1. 9.2 sold for a record 1.5 million. There it is right there. White Pages. Now you got to ask yourself, first of all, who in the world bought this comic book in 1962 or 61, excuse me, and then set it aside, had the foresight to set that aside and keep it in perfect condition? I mean, that's crazy. But there it is. And this is the most stunning copy of the Memorial Age issue we've seen since we offered the White Mountain copy over 8 years ago in the same grade and page quality. No other copy we offered in our 20 years. This is Heritage. Comes close to this beauty. That is a beautiful, look at that. Now, you know, if Graham Nolan owned this, he'd just wreck it. He'd just wreck it. He'd show no respect and wreck it. But someone was smart enough to get this thing. Look at the quality on that book. This is freaking incredible. All right, but now here comes the harsh reality. Let's go to our friends at Go Collect and see what they're telling us now. All right, so over here at Go Collect, let's take a look here now. This is not a rare book. There's 3,218 copies of this graded, and you can understand why everybody and their brother who has a copy of this book would probably get it graded. I would myself. So, but there's only 4 9.2s. There's 2 9.4s. There are 3 9.6s. That freaking blows my mind. But let's go a little bit further. Let's look at the price. Look at this. Only sold for the same book sold for $600,000 just this year, where it sold for $1.5 million in 2022. Is this the same book? No, it isn't. It's not the same copy. But this does have, let's take a closer look at this. It's not going to show us the picture. I believe it does have, looks like it says it's got white pages. So, but anyway, a very similar copy dropped in value. Look at that. You can look at the little arrow right there. You guys can see that, right? Yeah, you can. Okay, you look at the little arrow right there. So in 22, that's the height of COVID, when COVID money was just exploding all over the collector scene, and now it readjusts. How would you like to be the guy who spent 1.5 on that, and now it's only worth 600,000? Yikes. That was the stupidest period that goes COVID years from like 2020 to 2023. I hardly bought anything. And the couple issues I did buy dropped in value. And and we're talking like books I spent a couple $100 on. So it wasn't like a major loss, but I was really aware of what was going on. And I talked to dealers and they're like, oh, this isn't going to end because, you know, these people are pumping money into this because, you know, executives with tons of money and they want this stuff to hang on their wall. And it's just blah. And I was like, I was listening to him tell me this stuff and I'm going, you are so wrong. This is going to burst. And you guys are going to be, well, maybe not retailers, but collectors that paid a ton of money for some of these books are going to be, as they say, taking it in the shorts. And they did. So really, the Fantastic Four is really a $500,000 book in 9.2 right now. A little bit more than that, which is a lot of money. But boy, would I would be in pain if I spent that much money on this book. 9.6. Now look at that. But the fair market value on a 9.6, there's only one of those, right? Oh, there's 3 of them. $2 million. And that's a recent sale. So if you're way up there in the stratosphere, yeah, that was 2024. That's probably dropped a little bit, but $2 million for that 9.6. Wow. Incredible. $2 million, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Kaiser Jose, or is that Kaiser Sose? I'm not going to lie, COVID got me back into comics. Well, that's true. And, you know, the opposite thing happened that I thought would happen. When we went into COVID, I told my son, I go, we are going to get some deals now because, you know, a lot of people are out of work. They're not going to be spending money. But what happened was the high rollers that were working at home anyway or working on their computers, COVID didn't affect them at all. So they were still rolling in cash, but they couldn't go out and spend it. So what did they do? They dumped it into collectibles. and it totally screwed over my plans to get great deals during COVID. And so now everything's dropping, and now I'm like, I live in fear that it's going to continue to bottom out. You don't know where the bottom is, right? So if you go, oh, I'm going to jump in now, and then it continues to sink, you're like, oh, I just overpaid again. But a lot of retailers are saying we've kind of bottomed out, things are stabilizing, so we shall see. I love what this. My wife came in when you said it sold for 600K. I told her she missed that it sold for 1.5 million a couple of years ago. She said rich nerds don't have ladies to spoil. Wow. You know, there is some truth to that. And I remember when they had a big Star Trek auction. This was probably 10 years ago. And these guys, you know, they had like some of the models and stuff from like the movie and the television show and like Next Gen and all this kind of stuff. And like someone spent, it doesn't seem like that much now, but like 20, 25 grand on one of the Star Trek models from one of the Star Trek shows, or it might have been Star Trek 2, I can't remember, on the Enterprise or something like that. And I was like, oh, but it was a single dude, right? And I was like, well, apparently has a pretty good paying job. Marcus Killigrew, I think you're right. Happening crowdfunding too. No more COVID money. I think you're right. I think you're right, because you can see that crowdfunding has really fallen off. I live in fear of you, Andino. All right. Well, we'll just we'll move on from that. So anyway, there you go. Fantasy Four #1, now a $600,000 book in 9.2, which seems a lot more affordable than a 1.5 million, but still a little bit out of my price range. Corey Landis says nerds need nerd wives, except a bit more responsible than themselves. Yeah, but see, chicks are just as bad as guys are, right? Us nerd guys, we would buy artwork or comics or toys or statues or whatever, but then, you know, your nerd wife is out buying clothes, and you know, so what's the difference? The difference is nerd dudes buy collectibles that, at least for the most part, hold their value, so that, or hold some value, so that if I need money, well, I can take that piece of David Finch artwork off the wall and sell it and get some cash, or I can take that comic book I bought and sell it and get some cash. Your nerd wife buys clothes and shoes, and they end up in a garage sale for $5. So just telling you, there's a little bit of investment potential. You can always sell that. Chicks buy shoes and purses like freaking crazy. My wife, who I wouldn't really, she's not a nerd in the sense that I am, but I've kind of, over 34 years of marriage and a year of dating and engagement before that, kind of brought her over to the dark side of nerddom. At least she understands what's going on and kind of gets it. So she is a bit nerdy, but still not, you know, crazy nerdy like me. But she understands what I'm doing. She understands the process now. But she collects purses, like those seatbelt bag purses. They're freaking expensive. So everybody's got their thing. So I don't like people coming up to me and going, "You're a nerd, dude." I go, "Really? Really? Because you are too. You're a nerd for clothing, or you're a nerd for sports. Do you realize that I've said this stat on the show before, but I'm going to say it again to kind of justify my own existence. Only about 20% of the population, right, cares anything about sports. It seems like everybody does, but it's really not true. I mean, maybe soccer worldwide, there's a bigger, you know, engagement, but like America, we'll just talk American sports, basketball, football, the whole, you got about hockey, you got about 20% of the population gives a rip. And then it's like only like 20% of them or something are like super like nerdy about it, right? So how is that how is being a sports nerd? And I admit I'm a bit of a sports nerd, not so much as I was, you know, when I was younger, but I still am to a degree, obviously, college football and stuff. But what is any different? Why is it more socially acceptable to be a sports nerd than it is a comic book nerd? I don't know. I don't think there really should be any difference, but I do. We appreciate, you know what you can say about comic book nerds? We appreciate art. We appreciate a good sculpture. We appreciate, and that goes along with a toy. You can say, oh, well, I collect toys. Yeah, but I collect good sculpted toys, stuff that looks good. I collect good looking art that shows an aesthetic and appreciation. You know, we should get more credit, I think. Well, you're Canadian, Paul. Of course, the only sport you follow is hockey, but it's still a sport, right? So that counts. I don't follow all sports. I used to. I don't anymore. But you know, you pick and choose. You only got so much time, right? It's true. I collect movie posters. I do keep up, like I said, with some sports, um, comics, art. I don't collect toothpicks, though. I quit collecting toys and statues for the most part because I don't have any room for them anymore. As you can see behind me, look at that. Look at it. It's just wiped out. There's like a headless horseman toy right there. It's not even out of the box. There's a, look at that. Shelly got me that Wraith of God bust that was made specifically for me. There's a, is that, I think that's Zemnu the Living Titan right there. Empire Comics sign, that's cool. Frazetta book right there. Look, there's a skull that's not real back there. We got artwork all over the wall. That's a Paul Ryan Iron Man. Look at that dinosaur head coming out from behind my Jaws game, which is right there. Alligator head right there in front of the History of EC Comics giant. I mean, that's just what you can see. And there's a comic book rack right there. That's just what you can see. Look at the books back there. Yeah, I have a problem. But my problem is I'm running out of space. So I have to be judicious about what I collect anymore. So I do actually have a statue of MODOK. It's around here someplace. Oh, actually, I don't. It's Lockjaw that I have. I don't have the MODOK bust. I should have a MODOK bust. In fact, Paul, I'm getting them. That's what I'm asking for Christmas is a MODOK bust. That's what I want. That Bowen MODOK bust. It's like the whole MODOK. They say it's a bust, but it's like the whole thing. It's like all of MODOK. So I could totally go for that. Thank you, Paul. I'm asking for that for Christmas. I like that. There's more money involved in sports, so it gets pushed harder in the mainstream. This is true. It's true. There is way more money in sports. Okay, and there is something about even like you go back to the Olympics or like back in the Greeks when they started the Olympics, watching physical achievement, is pretty spectacular. I get that. But those of us, who enjoy the arts, we like artistic achievement as well. And I just think we deserve equal respect. That's all I'm saying. Now, maybe I wouldn't be this if I wasn't so jacked up on energy drink right now, but I am. Now, speaking of artistic endeavors, this show is wired, man. I am just like lit up. Okay, let's take a look at this. And I have good reason to show you guys this because not only am I selling it, but I've added some stuff to the old campaign page. You probably have seen it because I've posted it on social media, but just in case you haven't, I've got this campaign called, what is it called? It's called Barbaric Adventures. This is a magazine size, 8.5 by 11, square bound, black and white, Paul Taylor's favorite. We have decided not to go color because we wanted to be traditional in we're sort of emulating Savage Tales magazine. And at least that was my dream. I got a lot of dreams, and sometimes fulfilling dreams can be expensive. So anyway, but we have 4 covers because there's 3 stories in this, but 1 preview story. So that sort of makes up all 4 cover options. My Primal Zone, which is a kind of an Edgar Rice Burroughs type story, dinosaurs, cavemen, interdimensional travel. David Williams is showing us the story of a young knight, which doesn't sound high concept, but when you see the story, you'll realize how very high concept it is. And Dan Lawless again with another high concept, futuristic tale of Mars that was civilized but has fallen into chaos, and there's rebellion and savagery and lots of good stuff. So here's my cover, painted, because that's what we do around here. And then David's painted cover, which I think is awesome. I also think mine's awesome, but you know, I drew it, so why wouldn't I? This is Dan Lawless's digitally painted, which is kind of cheating, but it's still really nice. And then, of course, the guest cover by Joe Jusko, featuring Freya, the Ice Princess, just slaughtering a Yeti. You can see I really had fun with this. I wanted to give him something that, you know, would kind of be like, oh, that'll be fun. So those are your 4 cover options. Now look, here's what I've added. Now you've seen this page before, and this is page number 2. And I actually juiced this page up a little bit. Put some shadow in her hair. I did like some cloudy stuff in the sky with ink wash. I did more ink wash on this lizard dude. It's really a fine looking page. This, perhaps the greatest comic page I've ever drawn in my life, is in there. This is page 13, I believe. And here's page 10. I added this because you got to get some T-Rex love in there. And I want you guys to see this, but I got to be careful. It's like I don't want to show you too much because this is only a 24-page story. So if I show you every page, then it's like, why would you buy it? But someone posted on, I listed this stuff on Twitter, and someone said, man, these pages look like they're taking you a long time. And they are. Sadly, they're taking me way longer than I thought they were going to. So a little bit behind where I'd like to be. But we are, I mean, I'm working on it daily. So it's not like I'm, you know, eating pizza and watching TV. On Tubi, we're moving along on the book. So don't sweat it. And here's the David Williams pages. First showed these on Graybeards this last week, but here they are posted on the campaign. So those of you going, is David doing anything on this book? Heck yeah, he is. Look at this stuff. So nice. He's really taking the gray tonal to the next. He's like almost painting these in gray. It's so nice. And so here's the first couple of pages from his story. Of course, it's a 12-page story, so I'm not going to show you any more, but look at this. And then, of course, Dan Lawless' pages here. And he's got his whole story done, that part. He's like, I'll show you guys. But his looks really nice too. This is, you guys, this book is underbacked, obviously, you can see by the number of backers. And I don't know if it's the black and white. I don't know if it's barbarian stuff isn't as popular as maybe I thought it was. But I'm telling you, just if you like books with exceptional art in them and really cool high concept stories, you should be backing this. It's really phenomenal. Anyway, I won't just go through here and take a look at, if you haven't backed yet, at all the extra stuff you can get on the campaign. The way Indiegogo is now, you just got to keep scrolling vertically till you get down to the rewards, which used to be called pledges. You can go in here and back at different levels. We have the 4-pack plus, where you can get all 4 covers plus the sketchbook, which is going to be really cool, by the way. Shot glass. You can order each cover individually if you just want one cover. You can do a combo pack to save a little bit of money here with the book and the sketchbook, the book, the sketchbook, and the print. You can get the big barbaric box, which features all 4 covers plus this extra 5th cover that's behind me on the easel that I'm not done painting it yet. And I keep people like, what are you going to paint that? I go, well, I want to get the interior done. And then while production is going on the interior, like lettering and putting the book together and all that kind of stuff, I will paint that. And so the timing hopefully will be right. And then when I'm ready to go to the printer, when all the production stuff is done, the cover will be done. We'll get them all shot, and then we'll go to the printer. So that's kind of my plan. Also, this portfolio is in here that you can only get in the Big Barbaric box along with that cover. And look, that's a $210 value for $185. There's some original art, not much left, but there is some that you can get on here back if you're interested. And then you just keep scrolling down, and you can kind of buffet style put together an order to your liking. You want to get some Wraith of God, you want to get Garbage Man, Kit Carter, Save from the Trash Sketchbook, Power Cubed. Maybe you want David's cover and Dan's cover, so you can order those two like that and kind of buffet style put it all together. You'll find a link in the description of this video, and also pinned to the top of the chat, and also on my profile page on X/Twitter, or on Instagram as well, and probably on Facebook. So whatever platform you're on, you can find this campaign, and I would really think you should back it because it's going to be so cool. And so anyway, there you go. And I am genuinely excited about it. It's fun to work on. It's labor intensive, but I think it really looks good. And let's see, am I gonna now? So I'll save that for later. So anyway, there you go. That's your sales pitch for today. Again, I do not have Taco Bell advertising on my show, so I have to advertise myself. So there you go. Okay. Now Luffy God says, it's your promotion. Luffy, dude, I have been on Kings. We launched this on Ethan's channel, for crying out loud. We launched on my channel, then jumped over to Ethan's. Now, granted, I haven't been on Kings for a while, but because Kings just became a draw stream, and I already do a draw stream on Wednesday nights, so I didn't do it that much, and we weren't promoting anything on there anyway. So we promoted on the professionals. That's the thing. You know, you think you're reaching a broad audience when you post stuff on social media or YouTube channel, and it's amazing how many people just don't see it. It's incredible. And I've even got a mailing list of over close to 2,400 people on my mailing list. I send out blasts on that all the time. So I'm doing what I can, man. I'm doing what I can. What is this? Corey Landis says Taco Bell's pepper jack and steak burrito is the shiz night. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it's good. I have to admit, I love Taco Bell. I don't go there very often because I know it's not good for you, but I do love it. So, pleasure. Okay. What are we doing? Geez, guys, I am so wired. I keep saying that, but it's true. I'm that energy drink is like freaking blasted me. I think I had a really big one. I should have had a small one. Okay, so should we do a quick Spider-Man review? This is what is it? Spider-Man Brand New Day, right? At least home isn't. That's what confuses me. There's like it's like all of his previous movies had like home in it, right? You know, All the Way Home, Not Going Home, Just Made It Home, Home for Dinner. I mean, I get them confused. There's like one with Mysterio. I remember that one. And there was there's one with the Green Goblin, wasn't there? Or am I just dreaming that? Was there one with the Green Goblin? What was the first one? I don't even remember. All right. So anyway, here we go. So this is kind of I got to admit, the movie posters these days have a lot to be desired, but there it is. It's a cool poster, but it's like, concept wise, is it really though? How many times have we seen, I want some art is what I want. I just don't want art. There were two with the Green Goblin, one with Toby, and the last one with Toby and Tom. Yeah, what was the first Spider-Man movie though? I guess they were all like they felt like they were Avengers tie-ins or something. I don't remember. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So anyway, I went and saw this movie. Of course, it's raking in cash, and you're like, but is it any good? And I'm probably most of you have seen it, but maybe some of you haven't, so I won't spoil it to you. I will say this. It's really emotionally heavy and has some serious emotional depth to it, which I think what's going on there? I think really gives it more impact. It's not just kind of a surface level, kind of fun comic booky movie, which I've enjoyed all the Spider-Man movies, even the Mysterio one, which people said they didn't like, which I still liked it. But this one has some depth to it, emotional depth and character depth that you might not expect from a Marvel movie. Although Civil War was freaking awesome. Pardon me, not Civil War. Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier, which I think is probably still the best Marvel movie. Endgame was fun because it was spectacular and big, and there was some good stuff in there. That whole first and second wave, I think was really good for the most part. They just kind of fallen off the rails, mostly because of the DEI crap and the, uh, you know, uh, race switching and all that kind of crap. And they're just focused on the wrong stuff. And this was really more about storytelling, which is funny because Spider-Man is one of the biggest DEI franchises out there. You've got Mary Jane is black, right? But it's fine for the movie. I don't care. I like Zendaya enough. That's fine. And then Ned Leeds is what, a Samoan kid or something. He's very funny, but totally not with the comic book. Is Flash Thompson some Indian kid? It's like they just like check every racial box in these movies, but they're good. So it's kind of like you don't care, right? It only becomes an issue when the movies suck or they're doing something really stupid with it. And so I really like this. Now I'm not quite sure it's as good as everybody saying it is. Only because I think the first part of the movie is a bit ponderous. And that's kind of like it's kind of hard not to be because you've started a whole new Spider-Man world, right? Where we're not going to go back and tell the origin or anything because we've already seen that. But everybody's forgotten about Spider-Man, at least all of his personal friends, right? So it's kind of him doing his thing and becoming Spider-Man, just solely Spider-Man. And so it takes, and even though, we got a great homages with some, classic Spider-Man covers, and him fighting villains and things like that, which was cool. And but I it wasn't until he started to try and actively reconnect with his old friend group that it started to really kind of hit home. And then we started getting into this mystery villain who probably everybody knows who it is, but I'm still not going to say who it is. And I will say I also loved the stuff of the Punisher. His relationship with the Punisher, it was almost like a buddy, cop buddy movie. I really like John Bernthal as the Punisher. I think he's the best Punisher we've had. Although the one guy, that Ray, what's his name, really looked the part, although I didn't really ever see that movie. But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the character stuff. There's a lot of action in it. So the other thing that kind of bugged me was Spider-Man's relationship with the chief of police. It seemed a little too. Some people are telling me this was in the comics, and well, I haven't ever read it, but I thought that was weird to me. It just seemed odd to me. And then the fact that he would like show up at a crime scene and like walk around like Captain America instead of like swinging in and sticking to walls and getting out of there because the cops don't like him. They all kind of liked him and everything. And that would just felt odd to me. And that's not a criticism necessarily of the movie. It just felt odd because it's something I'm not used to in my Spider-Man-ish. Um, Kaiser Soze says Zendaya was actually acting in this movie with more faces. You see that guy posted a little meme type thing. Oh, it was a little video where he's like, Zendaya in Dune, Zendaya, and he does the four, and they're all the exact same expression. He just changes the costume a little bit. I thought this, I know I did. I really enjoyed this. It was heartbreaking at points, and you can see why this movie's doing so well, because if you want the solution to how to make $1 billion in your movie, create a movie that both women and men both want to go see. So this has the superhero element, it has the fight scenes, it has all the cool stuff we know from the comics. And it also has this like tragic romance type stuff going on in it that attracts your female audience. And so you've got both men and women want to go see this movie. And when you have that happen, like Titanic, or a little bit same with Avatar, when you have men and women both wanting to go see a movie, you are destined for major success. And this movie's blowing up because of that. But it's also good. It's a good movie. It has nice emotional depth to it, as I said. Good characterization. Kind of a surprise if you're able to get in without being poisoned by the internet. Your villain is a surprise, which has kind of pissed some people off. Didn't bother me at all. I'll just leave it at that. But sometimes comic book purists get a little pissy when the movies aren't exactly like the comics, and I don't ever expect them to be. I just want them to be good, and this has succeeded in that. Brian G says, I never wanted to go see the Titanic. I wanted to go see it because I was a James Cameron fan, and he'd given us what do you got, Terminator 2. He'd given us a lot of good movies, and I thought, all right, yeah, this is the Titanic, but it's probably a romance film, but it is James Cameron, so I'm going to go check it out. And so I think a lot of people did that. Paul Taylor says, Titanic, kind of a bummer because he knew how it ended. Well, I have to admit, I think on Titanic, when it didn't open huge, but it just kept building. It was one of those weird movies where it just kept building and building and building. And I heard so much about it and got good reviews. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see it. So there you go. I haven't seen Silver Linings Playbook. Oh, okay. Can you guys help me out here? I saw a clip with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and he was trying to pick up on her in a bar. I think it was Crazy Stupid Love or something like that. But I thought it was really funny. I thought the scene was funny. And I thought, is that movie any good? Because maybe I'll watch it if it was good. Someone tell me, Crazy Stupid Love, is it any good? I did go see the Titanic exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry in Florida way back in the day, and I found it very interesting. Jake Blue says, I walked out of Avatar. Here's the thing about Avatar, and I understand why there's criticism for it, because it's basically sort of an American Indian sort of Dances with Wolves kind of ripoff. The visuals were so freaking spectacular. I watched it in 3D, and it's probably the only movie I've seen in 3D that actually warranted being in 3D. Blew my mind. So I was there for the visuals, and the story was okay, whatever, but visually it was so freaking spectacular. I had to watch it. So there you go. La La Land, love it. And that's not my kind of movie. I've seen La La Land. That's not what I'm talking about. Because I like a good old-fashioned musical, and I thought La La Land was kind of a good old-fashioned musical. But Stupid Crazy Love or something like that. Fantastic Four and Spider-Man were great in 3D. I almost saw Spider-Man in 3D because I had to wait too long to get in to see it, and I was afraid I was going to get too many spoilers. And I did get spoilers before I went in there, which kind of ticked me off, but I wasn't. It was difficult anyway. Okay. Is anybody coming up with? Has anybody seen Crazy Stupid Love? Okay. Thank you. Dan Blackwright says, yeah, Crazy Stupid Love is pretty funny. All right. Okay, I'll watch it. Because I like Ryan Gosling. And I did go see, what's that movie he's in right now? Project Hail Mary, which I thought was I don't think it's as good as people are saying it is. But I did think it was good, and it was enjoyable, and it was a lot of fun. The crazy thing about that movie is I think it's like, because there's no political messaging in it, it's just kind of a straightforward adventure story that people just said, this is freaking awesome, because we're just not getting that. And I think Spider-Man, you're getting the same thing. It's just there's no political messaging. It's just there, and it's a good adventure story. Hello, Hollywood, listening. Okay. Yeah, Crazy Stupid Love 2011 and La La Land 2016. I like La La Land, but you got to like musicals, right? And you got to like kind of old Hollywood musicals, which I do, as long as they're not like West Side Story, where you're like, you've got some serious dramatic thing going on there, you know, gangs dancing while they're fighting. I just, come on, give me a break. But I enjoy a good, like, sort of comedy musical. So Slob Zombie for 250 jewels. Thank you, sir. It says Laughing Disco. You know, that's one thing I don't give the jewels. There's like people put like crazy verbal cues in there, and I don't understand what's going on, but I appreciate it. Can someone wake me when we get to the comic art section of the show? Thank you. James, maybe this will wake you up. Man, you know, the thing about this show, which makes this show unique, is it's a variety show. All right? Variety. Oh, Sweeney Todd. I haven't seen the Johnny Depp version. Have you guys seen that? I would be interested in seeing that. I love Johnny Depp. He's a great actor. Very versatile. And I love the fact that he does weird things that you wouldn't expect him to do. Slob Zombie says only Travolta can do musicals. I do love Grease. Come on now. But anyway, he says I barely felt it. It's because you're all the way in Spokane. That's a long way to fire a cannon. All right. So because you guys demanded it, we're getting to comic art. No, we're not. We're going to do the Oscars next. So Sequential Treasures can go back to sleep. Should I work? Can I work in some? All right, I'll break it up because I didn't really intend to do the Spider-Man review, but there you go. I give it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. So there you go. I think it was a very successful film. But now let's do this. I told you guys how freaking wired I am right now because of this. I don't know how people drink this. Could you do this every day? My head would explode. I can't wait for like 3 more hours. I'm going to be like crashed out like this. You know, when Dale passed out when he was doing his first live stream, he passed out for like hours and he got like 1 million subs or something. That's going to be like in 3 hours. I'm going to be like, all right. So I'm working on some stuff that I can't show you, but I will show you this. This is part of what I'm working on. This is part of it. Okay. You'll have to guess the other part. That's from my flat files. Okay, I'm going to show you this. I got to quit showing you guys pages from Primal Zone because you're going to see the whole thing. I keep saying I'm not showing you guys any more pages. And yet, actually, what was the one with Roy Scheider, the Bob Fosse film? All That Jazz. I kind of like that one too. But that really wasn't a musical. It was more of it was a weird fantasy type because all the musical numbers were like in his mind or on stage while they're doing, but I love Roy Scheider. So Marby Dog 65 says, Aaron, your women are always beautiful. I try. Thank you so much. All right. So here's like just a kind of a blue line layout of a page. Look at those cavemen down there of, all right. That's all I'm showing you. That's all I'm showing you. So yeah, so people wondering if I'm progressing on Primal Zone. I am. Now I'm gonna do a little. Now I'm not gonna tell you that. See, I almost caved, but now I'm not gonna. I'm not. Paul Taylor says it's hard to see that. I know, Paul. I don't really want you to see it. I'm just teasing. Says bring back the babe. There's the babe. All right, what else can I show you? Let me show you something else here. I want to remind people now. I'm not. The sale is over, so um, I just lost my. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Got too much stuff open. All right. I just want to remind everybody of these, like this guy right here. I did a sale on these last week. Thank you guys for jumping on that. But these will not be on my website because I can't put them on my website because they're marble. So that would be kind of a breach of. We have kind of this unwritten. Actually, because I am who I am, if they found out I was doing prints, they probably would try and shut me down anyway. But before they hated me, the deal was you can do prints of our characters at shows, but you can't mass produce them and like sell them on your website. So I honor that. And so these are available, but they'll never be listed on my website. So if you guys are interested in like the Silver Surfer print or that Hulk print, let me know. I can hook you up. I actually like both of these a lot. I think they're really fine pieces of work. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. I'm starting to sound like Dan Lawless. I'm really pleased with my work. Not always, but in this case I am. I wouldn't have made prints out of them if I wasn't pleased with my work on those. So what I'm going to pull something deep out of the files. Let's what can I let's go back here to what have I got here that I can now probably over the course of time you guys have seen this stuff, but I always like to bring it back because it never hurts. Never hurts to revisit some past successes. I did a series of Universal Monsters. I did this Frankenstein, this Karloff Frankenstein, way back in 2004. So is that remarkable? It's 22 years ago. In pencil on watercolor paper. So that allowed me to kind of get in there and do some really cool texture. So you can see the texture in there because of the watercolor paper. And I sold these. But they're still pieces I'm really, really proud of. And I did the Bride. I did two different ones of the Bride of Frankenstein. And why they're not in this folder, I don't. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they are. Here's one of them anyway. I did this one and I did a profile that must be in a different folder because it's not here. And again, this is on watercolor board, just using regular old graphite pencils. You can see the texture there. Gary Martin's in the house. Hey, Gary, thanks for joining us. You can see Gary and his sarcastic wit every week, Wednesdays on Graybeards at 2 o'clock Pacific time with me, David Williams, and Dan Double D Lawless. Let's see. Do I have another one? Yeah, they must have ended up in another folder. Okay, this is of interest. I'm just randomly going through the folder here because James was demanding art. Okay, so look at this down here. It says, to Mark, a great artist and a good friend. That is a piece I did for Mark Schultz. And this was in 2007 because I'd asked him to do a piece in my book, and I was going to pay him hopefully no more than $500, but I didn't know what I was getting into. But I said, hey, let's do it. And he said, well, let's trade. And I go, are you serious? Because to me, that was like, I'm ripping you off, dude, if we trade art. So anyway, we had the book for a while. I gave it to him at San Diego, which would have been in July, excuse me. And then it was getting around November and I hadn't, and I said, I can't really ask him for it because I haven't done his piece. So I sat down and I did this. I thought, and this is about as good as I could do. He wanted like a Mars piece with Deja Thoris. I thought, so I went for it here. And sent this to him. And then a month later, he sent me my book back with a Deja Thoris piece of his own and a Banth in it, which I've showed you guys several times in the show. I still think I got the better end of the deal on it, but I still think this is a good piece though. It's just that I'm not as good as Mark. So no matter how hard I try, my stuff's not going to look as good as his. But, in terms of getting a good piece for me, for what passes as good for me, I think it turned out pretty well. Pity Moss, is that Deja Thoris? It certainly is. Marby Dog says, have you ever done fantasy novel covers? Not really. No, I have not. I wanted to get into that. And I just, you do what pays the bills, and comic work has always paid the bills. And so it's hard to kind of break away from that and find something else. Let me see. What else in here can I pull up? All right. This was a commission piece I did for a dude in, is this the guy in Australia? I think it is. I haven't heard from him in a while. Look at this. So he told me all the characters he wanted. And I charged him a decent amount of money. But I think it turned out pretty well. I think he got his money's worth. So we've got the Brainiac or whatever. And there's the Brainiac ship back there. So we got Captain Atom. I think that turned out pretty well. Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Booster Gold, Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. There's a Flash back there. Superman, of course. I had to get Plastic Man in there. He didn't ask for Plastic Man, but I gave it to him anyway. Big Barda, Mr. Miracle. Who's this star dude? I don't know. Star guy, Starman maybe. I don't know who this fiery chick is. I can't remember. And then of course Blue Beetle getting his butt kicked. So these were certain characters requested that I had to have in there. I think, I don't know that I put in, no, actually I think he requested all these characters. But yeah, I thought this turned out pretty well. There's a lot of pressure on, when you're doing this many characters in it. Like I said, usually there's a couple bad, like that drawing out in the background didn't turn out that well. But I again hate to sound like Dan Loss, but I think this turned out pretty well all the way around. I like looking back on it. I like all the characters. This is when 2021, so it wasn't that long ago. It was 5 years ago now, but right during COVID, I guess. And I asked him if he'd allow me to turn it into a print, which I did, and really didn't sell that many, but it's a really big print. So yeah, I don't know. Somebody tell me, there's somebody DC fans. Who's that flying fire chick in the background? Marby boy, who was the writer on Plastic Man? Great dialogue. Well, Gail Simone did a miniseries before that. Hilary Barta did one for DC back in the 90s. Kevin Nolan worked on that as well. I can't remember if Hillary wrote that or not. No. That was the guy. Oh, doggone it. I know who wrote that. He did a lot of indie stuff, but a good sense of humor. Not Megaton Man, but oh gosh, somebody help me. I don't think that's Starfire, is it? Flamebird. There it is. Flamebird. Okay. From Firestorm, Flamebird. Okay. Flamebird or Firebird? Eric and Boyd says Flamebird. Eric Boyd says, no, it's Firehawk. Okay, so you guys are right, said Firehawk. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not even close. Thank you for playing those, Slav Zombie. Okay, let me pull out one more here from the old dark files. Here's another commission that I kind of like. It was a very odd combination, but of course, we're still in my flat files. That's what this segment is called. Here we go. How about this? My only regret of this is she's not hippie enough. I tend to like my women like really hippie and not like hippies, like Woodstock, but bigger hips. But other than that, I really like this piece. I think it turned out pretty well. Let's go in here and take a look. So this is, see, I don't have colored markers because I'm too cheap. I think I have like red and green are the only colors I have. So where I had colored markers, I used that on like her costume and on the skin, pardon me, the red for her hair. The clay face is all warm grays. Okay. And then I used marker on her outfit and colored pencil over the top of that. And the red and green are marker, everything else, and the warm grays back here. But the color stuff is colored pencil. As you can see the texture as you get in here. Like on her legs and stuff, you can see that, the texture in there. So yeah, I've never done a ton of commissions, but they add up over the years. Okay, I'll show you one more. And then we've got to move on. So much more to do on this show. Where is it? Okay, I'll show you two more and then we've got to stop. This is kind of, I ripped off Adam. Well, I didn't really rip him off, but Adam Hughes inspired me to do this because he drew this. He did a cover, you remember, of Supergirl, where she's sitting on like an asteroid floating through space. She was sitting on an asteroid. So I thought, oh, I'll do her standing on an asteroid. So yeah. And that's all colored pencil again, except for the red and the grays in there are marker. And the rest is colored pencil, simply because I'm too freaking cheap to go buy a whole set of colored markers. So what are you going to do? Kaiser Jose says, what was your take on Stan Lee creating X-Men as an allegory for civil rights? I don't know if that's actually true. You have everybody say that, like, after the fact, but when he did it during the time, I wonder. I think it's fine. I mean, I don't have any problem with political messaging as long as it's part of the story and is organic to what you're doing. But when it gets stuck in there, when it becomes the only reason you're doing it, then it becomes stupid and annoying. So you need to put stuff like, for example, Wraith of God. I don't know if you've read it or not, but it's available on my website. I've done 3 graphic novels, Wraith of God. And there's a lot of Christian morality in these stories, but that's not the purpose of the story. It's just one of the characters in there, and maybe 2, but the Wraith's a little suspect on his Christianity. But Esther is a solid Christian character, so she reacts as a Christian would react and says stuff that a Christian would say, and so it feels authentic. But it's not there to be preachy and say read Wraith of God so you don't go to hell. but it's part of the story, and that's totally fine. But when you say, I'm going to do a comic book for the sole sake of being preachy, regardless if it's you know, any sort of religious view or political view or social view, then it becomes annoying because it's so obvious that's what you're doing. It's like, tell me a freaking story. That's what I want to read. Tell me a good story. And if you have these other elements in it, that's fine, as long as they work within the context of the story. And so that's kind of what I try to do. So I don't know about the X-Men, to be honest. I've heard stuff like that Chris Claremont, that, that it was all about gay rights and everything like that. But was it really, because he never said any of that back in the day, at least that I'm aware of. It just became like, kind of postmodern examination of it. Oh yeah, these are obviously this, that, and the other thing. And a lot of times it wasn't obviously that. And it just became that because that's, what's going on in society right now. So anyway, but again, I don't have a problem with messaging as long as it's integrated into the story appropriately. So there you go. All right, I'm going to show you this one more. Okay, I swear this is the last one. There was a period. Now, see, she's more hippie here. It says more of the hourglass figure that I like. I really like this one too. She's probably a little too cutesy for Poison Ivy. You'd think she'd be a little more sinister, but this is kind of more very sort of innocent and cutesy looking, which Poison Ivy is anything but I really love this piece. And this was another commission I did. And again, you can see the marker. What I did here was, I think I had two shades of green. I had the darker green and then this sort of olive green, which I did behind her in the bat signal. And then I did some warm grays over the top of it to get that sort of spotty, bushy look. Pardon that. And then I did some colored pencil over the top of this, but this is a darker green, obviously. Colored pencil for the skin tones, marker for the hair, and marker for the green leaves. There you go. Marvy Dog says, that's a grown-up Pebbles Flintstone. Kind of is. There you go. Art of Roy calling it out. And that's true. That's what I said. That whole allegory thing was retrofitted by Lee because he originally said he created mutants because he was tired of coming up with superhero origins, which is a great, and that I'm sure that's absolutely true because all you have to do is go, they just created, we give somebody powers. We don't have to explain how he got them. They were just born with them. But anyway, it worked. But actually that book was a failure until the new X-Men, thanks to Dave Cockrum. And who wrote that? Was it Claremont originally? Probably. Okay. So let's take a look now at, that was quite a journey through my flat files. It was like bonus coverage. And I only did it because I'm so freaking wired right now. Okay, let's do this because even if you don't like it, I do. Okay, we will be using the Academy Awards, the complete unofficial history, as our journey into 1942. This one isn't, I'll try and be a little more expedient with this. I don't know. I'm trying to be sensitive to what you, the audience, really wants to see. So anyway, 1942, we're well deep into World War II. Very patriotic, I guess this ceremony was. Now, this was in the Ambassador Hall. It was in Coconut Grove Ambassador Hotel, I believe, where Kennedy was shot and assassinated. That's Robert Kennedy. In Los Angeles, host, of course, was Bob Hope. This took place March 4, 1943. So well into the war. So Mrs. Miniver won Best Picture. This is the first film to get nominated for 5 acting awards. Now, the other movies, because I think we complained, obviously last year, Citizen Kane should have won and didn't. In fact, there was probably about 5 movies that should have beat How Green Was My Valley, in my humble opinion. This year, I think this probably was the best picture. So your pictures this year were The Invaders, Kings Row, The Magnificent Ambersons, of course, another what's it, Howard Hughes, Orson Welles film. So two films, both nominated for Best Picture. Now, the edited version of this, they took out 40 minutes of it while he was in Europe and released it, a shorter version. And it's not as good as the longer version, but the longer version is like 3 hours or something. So, The Pied Piper, Pride of the Yankees, which is a really good movie with Gary Cooper. Random Harvest, The Talk of the Town, Wake Island, and Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is also a really good movie with James Cagney. But Mrs. Miniver wins it. Now, Greer Garson, who'd been nominated multiple times before, did win for Best Actress, and she has the record. There's Greer right there. 6-minute acceptance speech. In fact, it became as notorious as Sally Field's "You Really Like Me" speech. And they said exaggeration gave birth to myth, and the Oscars of 1942 were remembered as the night Greer Garson went on for hours. But can you imagine a 6-minute acceptance speech? After about a minute and a half, you've heard about all you want from these people. And she just went on and on and on, apparently. This was her only win, but she'd been nominated multiple times before. Listen to this lineup. Bette Davis, once again, nominated for Best Actress in Now Voyager. Katharine Hepburn for Woman of the Year. Rosalind Russell for My Sister Eileen. Teresa Wright for The Pride of the Yankees. That is a powerhouse lineup, but Greer Garson sneaks in and wins it because Mrs. Miniver was the movie of the year. So, and that usually will carry the acting awards in most cases, not always. Supporting actor that year was Van Heflin, his only win for Johnny Eager. Teresa Wright won for Best Supporting Actor and Actress in Mrs. Miniver. And then, of course, the great, the legendary James Cagney won for the musical Yankee Doodle Dandy, which up to this point, James Cagney had been playing gangsters. And this was the first win, for Oscar win for an actor in a musical role. So how about that? Where he played, was it Stanley Cohen? He played somebody named Cohen. We'll get to that in a minute. But the other people nominated that year, Ronald Colman for Random Harvest, Gary Cooper for The Pride of the Yankees. Gary was very good. That was a great movie. Walter Pidgeon for Mrs. Miniver, didn't win. Monty Woolley for The Pied Piper. Don't have any idea who good old Monty is. For direction, we had Michael Curtis for Yankee Doodle Dandy, John Farrow for Wake Island, Mervyn LeRoy for Random Harvest, Sam Wood, Kings Row, and William Wyler won it for Mrs. Miniver. And we all know William Wyler's secret lover was Bette Davis. All right, let's dig into some trash real quickly because that's really the best part of this, isn't it? Listen to this. The statues, the Oscar statues this year, were delegated to plaster as a symbolic gesture to the war effort. Wartime winners had them replaced with the standard bronze-filled model in 1946. So basically they're saying, we're not using any metal in this because it has to go to the war effort. We're going to give you plaster. Can you imagine? What if you drop that? Oops. But anyway, they got them replaced. Here we go. Agnes Moorehead, quite a good actor, best known for Samantha's mother in the TV show Bewitched. Gave her probably greatest screen performance in The Magnificent Ambersons. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but lost to Teresa Wright. When Teresa won, by the way, she got up on stage, burst into tears, and had to be let off the stage. So I always like to see someone who wins and really appreciates winning. But Agnes may have got ripped off here. But let me tell you a little bit more about old Agnes. Her greatest fame, as I said, came with the role as Endora on the TV series Bewitched. Here we go. Off camera, the rumor mills had her romantically linked to her devoted early protege, Debbie Reynolds. Man, there was a lot of lesbo love going on in the early Hollywood days, weren't there? Moorhead was a cast member of the ill-fated The Conqueror in 1956, starring John Wayne in maybe one of the worst casting moves of all time. It was shot in the Nevada desert, very close to an atomic bomb site, and so a lot of people on that were in that movie got cancer, including her. So Agnes Moorehead died of cancer, as did co-stars John Wayne, Susan Hayward, and Lee Van Cleef. Were all in that movie. All died of cancer. This is interesting. Here we go. Yeah, so James Cagney auditioned for George M. Cohan. That's who he played in Yankee Doodle Dandy. So the stage legend, a struggling young actor, James Cagney, auditioned for George M. Cohan, the stage legend who would eventually play in Yankee Doodle Dandy. And Cohan didn't hire him. Isn't that kind of funny? And so James Cagney ends up playing George Cohan in this movie and wins the Best Actor award after George Cohan did not hire him. Very funny. So anyway, there you go. That is our look at the 1942 Oscars. And I'll tell you something. If you don't like Oscar trivia, you need to reevaluate your priorities. Because yes, we all love comic art, but movies is an art form too. So Sequential Treasures, who claims he's bored during the Academy Awards part. I'm bored. Wake me up when it's over, Mom. But he has the information. Cohen demanded Cagney play him in the film. How about that? Thank you for that. Art of Roy. Art of Roy is good for two things: disgusting humor and brutal criticism. And this is funny, though. I guess Agnes didn't live up to her name. Oh, my goodness. Woo! Smokers are toxic waste. Well, that's the thing. They probably were all serious smokers, too. So, Agnes Moorhead had a huge head. All right. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Back to comic book stuff. Now James, Sequential Treasures, James is very happy, I'm sure. So we already did the flat files. Oh, let's do this. I think this is fun. And everything I think is fun, you guys hate. So I don't know, but I think it's fun. So I got to find my little intro, though. Where is it? Doggone it. This is me stalling, waiting to find. Did I get rid of that? Did I actually dump that intro? Oh, no, here it is. This is stuff for sale this week that you could potentially buy if you had any interest. Now, this actually may already be over, but I found this and I was very interested in this for a couple of reasons. And hang on a second here. I got to prepare my, gosh darn it. Why is technology so difficult for me? Okay. Here we go. All right. I got it figured out. Oh, God, this thing. All right. Maybe I don't. Right now on Heritage is, why did my screen shrink like this? Do things just ever just piss you off? Everything pisses me off. All right, so let's see where we're at here. This live auction for, doggone it, why does that keep shrinking? Okay. This is a Robert McGinnis artwork on this Jane Fonda movie, Barbarella. You would think, and this is an original movie poster, you'd think It's at $200 with the buyer's premium. Look at that premium, man. You bid $155 and you've got a $50 premium, a $60 premium on there. Wow, what a ripoff. But anyways, just when you're bidding on Heritage or any of these other auction sites, you have to factor in the buyer premium. So if 200 and like, so if $210 is the max you want to pay for this poster, well, then you bid 160. So, but you would think, wouldn't you think this poster would be worth more money than that? It looks like it's in really nice shape. Very fine minus. That is good. It's folded, but all of them were folded back then. Nice Robert McGinnis artwork on there. Let's go in here a little bit closer if we can. There's usually a little, magnifying glass here. There we go. Now, Robert McGinnis was well known for his egg tempera. He didn't use oil paints. He used egg tempera, which is crazy to me. But anyway, that's a really nice movie poster. Good likeness of Jane Fonda. I'm tempted to get in on this, actually, to be honest with you. Except I'm broke right now, so I won't. But it's still not a very good close-up, is it? Where is the... oh, here we go. Let's get this baby up. All right, here we go. Now we can see what a great crotch shot that was. That's unintentional, by the way. Oh my gosh, I swear to you, I am going to kill this machine. I want this thing bigger. I want to get bigger. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see. I hope you guys are tripping hard when I do that. This thing is misbehaving, but I think I got somewhat figured out. Let's get a little bit closer in here. Sensitive, man. You can kind of tell how you don't really like, if you're working with acrylics, it's the same way. You can't really get a super soft blend here. You get kind of what you'd have to do is kind of dry brush it to get this soft edge, which is what it appears he did to do with it, what he appeared to do with this tempera painting. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. You would think, again, my point being, you would think it would go for more. But anyway, all right. I did want to show you this. Oh no, I already showed you that. I wanted to show you this. Now this is for the re-release. It's not all that different in price. This is Boris Vallejo from, I think it was late 70s, early 80s. So you tell me, which one do you prefer? Boris or Robert McGinnis? Well, yeah, I'm talking about putting it on as a brush, not with an airbrush. Saying Boris. Art of Royce says Boris is boring. Boris is only boring in retrospect because we look at the large body of his work, especially post 1980, where it's very similar and photo heavy and posy. 70s, though, his stuff was pretty good. His early stuff, where he was doing a lot more drawing and a lot less photo tracing. Barbaric Adventures is indeed magazine size, 8.5 by 11, so it is oversized. So the artwork can breathe. Yes, I agree. I loved his early stuff, like some of his Marvel stuff, and even like some of his book covers, like the Gore series is excellent. And I Am a Barbarian is one of my favorite book covers, Ed Rice Burroughs book. But anyway, so this one already sold for 114. Looks like the Robert McGinnis is going to go for over 200, but I'll be curious to see what it finally ends up going for. So anyway, sorry about that psychedelic joyride as I was trying to manipulate this thing to do what I wanted it to do. But anyway, that's what's on sale this week. And all right. Where are we at here? Oh, I know where we're at. It's time now. Oh, I don't even have an intro for this because I'm not doing cover artist. Am I on cover artist right now? Yes. I decided to skip picking a single cover artist. And I wanted to show you guys some comic art that are some of my favorite pieces. Now, there's a million of them out there. So this isn't like top 10, best ever, anything like that. These are just ones that I've seen over the years, like, ooh, if I could own that, if I had the money. Brian G, just back Barbaric Adventures. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it, man. Captain Bitbo says, no more hippie chicks. Yeah. Okay. So without the advantage of a intro, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. We're going to start. Oh, you know what? Let me see. I cleaned up my desktop recently. I still have it. Excellent. Okay. So Val Merrick is a friend of mine and would be a friend of the show's if I could get him. He's thinking about trying to launch a book on Kickstarter, but he's kind of nervous about it because of the uncertainty and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, if he ever does it, I'll have him on the show to talk about, of course, the creator of Howard the Duck. But one of my favorite things he worked on was The Living Mummy. Look at this splash page, The Living Mummy floating in space. And in a weird way, it only gets better. The next few pages, he lands on this planet and has to fight these mud guys. They're like these mud men. It's so cool. Because, Val is from that school, that Wrightson school, the Plug school. He was around, and younger than those guys. But obviously, those were some of the influences in his work. And so he's fighting these mud guys. And if you can imagine, like, Plugish, Wrightson-y mud guys, that's kind of what it was. And so, what issue is this? This is number 8. So that's Supernatural Thrillers number 8. And, oh, look, Tony Isabella is the writer. Don't get me started. But there you go. Val doing his own pencils and inks. And I really like Val as a monster artist. I mean, that's because he has a very soft kind of organic style, which suits barbarian or monster stuff way better than it does superhero stuff. And so anyway, if I could buy this page, which considering it's 70s comic art, if it was available, it's probably 10, 15 grand or more. So it would be out of my price range, but I would love to own that. Now let's take you back again to the 70s. I got a couple pieces here. When this book came out, this is John Carter, Warlord of Mars, which is exactly what the movie should have been called. Actually, it should have just been called Warlord of Mars. It probably would have done better than just John Carter. Gil Kane, inked by Rudy Nebres. Look at the figure there. To be honest with you, the Deja Thoris face is fine, but not great. But that figure of John Carter is really cool, I think. So that's one of my favorite splashes from this series. but it's not the best splash from this series. And of course, that's objective, but this is probably my fave. And I know who owns this. Tom Fleming used to be an art dealer, has so much of this stuff, and he's a huge John Carter fan. And he wouldn't sell it back when I might have been able to afford a page. So I can't even imagine how much stuff goes for now. But he has just like tons of pages from the series. This is Gil Kane, again, inked by Rudy Nebres. And the thing about Rudy was, Rudy's anatomy can get a little wonky sometimes. Of course, you could argue that about Gil Kane's, but not in the same way. Gil has a stylistic way of doing his anatomy and bending his figures, but the anatomy is essentially correct. Rudy, when he draws on his own, sometimes nails it, sometimes it gets really weird. And so I prefer Rudy Nebres inking guys that have solid drawing ability, like John Buscema, Gil Kane, guys like that, because then he gives us his Rudyisms, but they're without the wonkyism of the drawing sometimes. And that's why I love this book. Absolutely loved it. And that's just a great depth in this piece. You've got all your main characters, Deja Thoris, John Carter, and Tars Tarkas in it. When this came out in 1977, this is my favorite book. It just became my favorite book. Of course, no one else cared about it. This is issue number 2. The first issue was Dave Cockrum. Pardon me, it was Gil Kane inked by Dave Cockrum, and then Rudy Nebres took over, and then it really started. I mean, the Dave Cockrum inks were good, but I just like that extra dressing you get from Rudy Nebres. So anyway, my favorite book that no one else read. Randy Howell says, Tony Isabella, how dare you dead name her? No. Geeky says he was 8 in 77. How old was I? I was 13 in 1977. Art of Roy. I like Merrick's nudie stuff more. Of course you did. Of course you did. Okay. Now, this is an interesting page. I couldn't find a copy of this with the indicia on it, so I can't tell you what issue it was because I couldn't find the issue. But when I was down at CrossGen, this is Sal Buscema inked by Rudy Nebres, and Sal's never looked this good. This page, and it's really cool in black and white. I wish I could have found the original art in black and white because sometimes I can find it easy, other times it doesn't come up. And you just have to search the right thing, and I'm never quite sure. This was up on eBay when I was down at CrossGen, and I was bidding on it. But it ended up going for $2,500, which is dirt cheap right now. But I couldn't go that high at the time. And if I had bid $2,500, somebody else might have bid $3,000. You know what I mean? So I may not have got it anyway. But I was bidding on it, trying to get it, and it just got out of my price range. But I would love to own this piece, mainly because of the dinosaur. I admit it, but I just think that it looks really, really cool. Although yeah, Art of Roy says he had a lot of those books and he had Kane sign almost all of them. Cool. Wow. So you got all the John Carter of Mars with Gil Kane on it. That's cool. I never met Gil Kane. I've met, I was friends with Plug for quite a while. Stranko still remembers me. So I got to know some of the legendary guys, Simonson, of course, but not all of them that I would have liked to have met. But a lot of them, by the time I was going to conventions regularly, they weren't, So Art of Roy says recreated, Aaron. Ooh, I don't know if I could do it that well. That's just, to me, it's really nice. I don't like to recreate stuff that I think is really good because it's like I'm just doing a lesser version of it. I like to recreate stuff that I think could have been done better. And there's some of that stuff out there. Okay, we have talked about this page on this show before, but holy smokes. Speaking of Mike Plug, are you freaking kidding me? This is from King Cole, Cole the Conqueror, excuse me, actually it turned into Cole the Destroyer. So this is issue 11 or 12. I think it's issue 11. Yep, it's issue 11. So Cole was King Cole from issues 1 through 10, right? And Plug came in and did issues 10 and 11, or pardon me, 11 and 12. And then Starlin may have done an issue. And then I think Ernie Chan took it over or something. I don't know. But they stripped him of being king and turned him into a barbarian. And so he was just like he was like a cheap version of Conan. And the only thing that made Cole cool was the fact that he was the barbarian king. So eventually it got canceled. But these first 11 issues with Severin, well, first one is, Ross Andrew, inked by Wally Wood. Brilliant first issue. 2 through 9. 2 through 9. No, 2 through 10. Oh, no, I can't remember. Maybe it's 10 and 11 or Plug. But anyway, those were Severin. And awesome issues, my favorite stuff. And then we got 2 issues of Plug. Now, the cover to this, by this Axe I Rule, that was either issue 10 or I think it was 11. The cover to this is classic. And I've seen the original. I saw it in Plug's house. He's since sold it. But this splash page is better than the cover. And the cover's freaking awesome. So look at that. I mean, that is such a great splash page. What are you going to say? It's just freaking awesome. And if that had been the cover, I would have bought it too. I mean, but the cover was great. And so that's why you buy the cover. But then you open it up to this, you're just like, holy crap, I just hit the jackpot. Unbelievable. As Stan would say, enough said. And that's Plug inking himself here. Probably why he only did 2 issues. Oh, I love this page. Love it. So much power. And Plug was another one of those guys. He was a monster barbarian guy, not a good superhero guy, but his Man Thing was great. And then this 2 issues of Cole were fantastic. But this page, man, what I loved on that. All right. Now this is important here for a different reason. This is our good friend of the show, Chris Stevens. Done a couple covers for me. Did Kit Carter soft cover for me, and also did Wraith of God, which is a brilliant piece of artwork. I happen to own both of them. Haha. Okay, so this guy was going around and getting commissions, and he wanted one of the turtles with Aardvark, with Cerebus, the Aardvark. And so I did a color piece before Chris did this. Guy contacted me and I did a color piece for him. I thought, oh, that's pretty nice. It's a good piece. And then Chris does this and freaking embarrassed me. This is so freaking good. Now, in fairness, I'm sure Chris charged him a heck of a lot more than I charged him for mine, because this is a painting and everything, but Judas freaking Priest. Are you kidding me? Totally. I'm not even going to show mine because I'm so embarrassed at how good this is and how much better it is than mine. And mine was good, but are you freaking kidding me? Look at this. Not only do I love Chris because he's a friend of the show, but he's such a great artist. He's like one of those dudes that just pisses me off because he's so good. It's like, it's not fair that he's that good, right? And if you remember, when I interviewed him on the show, I've had him on the show twice. Now, he told me the only 2 shows he's ever done have been mine. He's done it. We had him on twice when he did covers for me. And he said his influences were Joe Mad and Travis Charest were his 2 biggest influences. You can see that. you know, and how he's kind of made it his own, but there's elements in there. And that's why his work, he took that like likability um, qualities, and it's so prevalent in his work. And he just has such a pleasing style. It's so cool. And his color work is just fantastic. Um, yeah, Rob Granito could rip off somebody else and provide me with the cover artwork. That'd be great. Everybody's like, show yours, show. I guess I have to now, don't I? All right, I got to find it. So just marvel at Chris's wonderful piece, and then I'll embarrass myself by showing mine if I can find it. I don't know which folder it's in. I really don't, because his is, I was so proud of mine. I thought, oh, I was like doing a Dan Lawless going, oh, this is really good. And then I saw this and I wept. I was like, I locked myself in my studio and cried. It's like, I'm so bad. It was tragic. It really was. And, can I find it? I hope I can't. Do you think I burned it after I saw what Chris had done? All right, I'm going to try one more thing here. Let's type in Cerebus in the old search engine. And yeah, there it is. Oh, mine is so wimpy. His colors are so vibrant. Mine are so like wimpy. Oh, it's like the drawing is good. It's just, oh man, I don't even want to show it. I'm not going to show them side by side. That's for sure. All right, here's mine. It's like, oh, I thought that was pretty good. Oh, I'm so ashamed. Ah. No, I think the drawing's good. It's just he's got way more detail in his, and the color work is better. I was just doing my standard, $600 11 by 17 marker colored pencil drawing. I wasn't, Chris charges thousands of dollars for those pieces, so that's how I justify it. But yeah, his is like freaking spectacular. But I guess for the money, this isn't bad, right? I mean, like I said, I felt pretty darn good about it. And then I saw Chris's, and I was like, no. Oh, thank you guys for being very kind. I appreciate it. There you go. Sequential Treasure says, yours is the Saturday morning cartoon version of Steven's, Aaron. That feels kind of like an insult, but I can't really argue with him. Yeah, Art of Roy, it's wimpy, wimpy, wimpy. Yeah, he's right. It is. I agree. For once, I agree with Art of Roy. My colors are wimpy on that. I need to punch them up. I could go into photo. I'm not going to mess with it. It is what it is. Yeah, there it is. Past Master Dan accusing me of, or is it mailing it in? See, this is, I'll tell you. Yeah, what are you not bullying me about this week? So now Sequential Church says, no, I love Saturday morning cartoons. The Geek Easy says his is the hefty bag version. Mine's like one of those small trash bags. He's got the hefty bag. Wow. Jay Rasco, making me feel better, says, I did one of those for that same collector. Regardless of how we feel about it, it only matters if the customer likes it. And it's true. He did like it. And again, it's not a bad piece. It's a good piece, but it's just not like Chris Stevens level. So as they say, I got to level up. All right. So I showed that with the intent that I would shame myself. So anyway, let's move on. Are you guys familiar with, I want to say he's Brazilian. I know he's South American somewhere, but Thomas Girello or Girello did a bunch of Conan stuff for Dark Horse. And he did a series called Odin's Eye for, now there's other pieces that I wouldn't mind owning of his. And I'm kind of pissed at myself because here we go, familiar story. I sat next to him at a show in Indiana, and we got pretty chummy, not in a gay way, but you know, and because we were sitting right next to each other, got talking and chatting, and he had these King Conan pages. It was kind of like old man Conan. God, they were so nice. Now he doesn't ink his stuff. He does this really, really super tight pencil, which I think is insane, you know, to go in and look at the shadows and stuff. And I know how hard work that is to get your shadows to look like that in pencil and then not smear it. And I was like, why don't you ink these, dude? Why don't you put that much work into the pencils, but ink them? But anyway, this is just how he does it. And he's right up there with Finch in terms of black spotting to create volume. I just think this is awesome. I love that big gorilla. You know, of course, Conan's down here and he's got a chick with a little butt shot, you know, the whole Frazetta thing. But I really like his stuff. And I could have bought one of his pages for, I think, I don't know, $250, $350, somewhere in that neighborhood. I didn't do it. Because I'll be honest with you, when I went to shows back in the day, especially back in the day, I was raising a family and every penny I made at the show was part of our income to pay our bills. And so it was really hard for me to be dropping randomly, you know. I do it at San Diego, but other than that, regular shows, if you go to a show and make $1,500 or something at a show, and to drop $350 of that, like a fourth of your money, I just couldn't do it. Even though I love his stuff. Fantastic. I love his stuff. Some more good advice from Art of Roy. Put a piece of Mylar over it and use a harder lead. But it's really tough to get that kind of black with a hard lead, though. This is, but he's terrific. And there's a bunch of pieces I'd like to have, but boy, I love this gorilla. So. All right, I remember this goes back, and here we are with some more Conan stuff. You can tell where my mind's at. I'm a barbarian kid for sure. Travis did this for an art auction in 07. It was either at the time, it was either SuperCon and then it became Big Wow. I think it was at Big Wow. And we'd often do, they would bring us out, Steve Morger, the two Steves would bring us out. And Steve, oh gosh, he's going to kill me. Can't think of his last name off the top of my head, but he's a big comic book dealer. And they teamed up to do this show. And it was very much a comic art show. It was a great show in San Jose. And it was originally called SuperCon, then it became Big Wow. And they would bring us all out and put us up and all that kind of stuff. And they would say, hey, man, kind of like Heroes Con, could you do a piece for the auction to help us raise some money to basically help pay to bring you guys out? So we'd all, you know, contribute something. And Travis did this at the show, and I'm pretty sure it was for the auction. I remember him drawing that and going, oh man, I want that piece so bad. And ended up selling for somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, I think. So there's no way I could afford it. I couldn't even afford it now. But I did get Travis to do a Conan in my sketchbook though. So, but this, I remember we were all just going, oh my gosh. And, all that cross hatching and stuff he does. Like, look at all this kind of noodly cross hatching in here. It's crazy. And the funny thing about Travis is when he does this stuff, it's very loose. Look at how loose that is, but it feels like really tight. The drawing is, but the inking is really kind of loose. Look how sketchy that is. Love it. He has just such a cool European look to his work. That's probably why it stands out. If you remember, he started out as kind of being a Jim Lee clone, and they kind of evolved into this sort of European stylist. And so you don't see a lot of this work in American art, but feels very European. And so that's one of the reasons I think, and he's just really good. So yeah, that was one I would have wished I had the money to buy, but oh well. All right, now I do own a piece of this, but this book, a good page from this book, but man, I would love to own this. This is Warriors of the Shadow Realm. It was a color magazine, and I've got a page from this. This is John Buscema, inked by Rudy Nebres. Again, a combo I really like, and colored by the late Peter Ledger. And Peter unfortunately died in a car accident at a relatively young age. So this was all like watercolor, airbrush. Look at that fish. I love that fish. And you've got your, oops, what happened here? You've got your, this elf guy named Mudbutt. What is his name? And then the elf Tyndall, and I can't remember the elf babe's name. But man, I love this piece. The color's great. This is probably at least a $5,000 piece right now. Now I got a page from this book, and I paid $650 for it, which I was stunned at the time it was that cheap. I thought it was going to go for probably $1,500 or more because it was a paint. What these pages were is they were penciled and inked and colored on the board. Okay, so this is not an overlay. All the original art for this magazine, this Weird World magazine called Warriors of the Shadow Realm, it was Marvel's Super Special 11, 12, and 13, I believe, and magazine size, and it was all done on the single board. So Buscema would pencil it, Nebres would ink it, and then Peter Ledger would paint it. And so to get a page that has that much on it, you figure it's going to be pretty expensive. But like I said, I got one at a Comic Link auction. It was pre-COVID. So the market was healthy, but not crazy. And I was surprised. I got it for $650 and I about fell out of my chair. And then this guy has had this on Comic Art Fans forever. So if I ever win the lottery or, inherit a lot of money or something from an unknown relative, I'd make an offer on this page to this guy and see what he would need to part with it. Because I'd love to have it. Anyway, there you go. This is interesting, and I wouldn't surprise me a bit. Is that Richard Friend? And us in the chat found out Nebres had to go back and re-ink a lot of it because it got covered by the colors. What's kind of silly about this? They should have had him color it first and then have Nebres ink over the top of the colors. I don't know why they didn't do that. But anyway, I do have a panel page from that. It's up on my wall. See that color piece right there? There it is, right there. I've shown it on the show before, but I got that. And I wish that Dave Stevens Rocketeer was original, but it's not. It's just a print. But signed by Dave, personally to me. I used to sit next to Dave at San Diego before he got ill, and he was a very good dude. Eric is anticipating that I have more Italian connections. Maybe Aaron Lopresti will inherit the business of Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago. Actually, I do. I'm a big sausage guy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just got clipped, I'm sure. Okay. This may be, and this is saying a lot, but could this be Bernie Wrightson's greatest piece of work? This is featured, this is Beauty and the Beast, and he never finished it. Okay. And tragically, this is like a freaking masterpiece that Bernie never finished. And the reason why, he was doing a series of posters for Christopher Zavisa back in about 1978. So this is prime Wrightson. This is him transitioning out of comics and just prior to Frankenstein. So he was just really, imagine a guy born in 1948, 1978, he's 30 years old and he's peaking. It's just freaking incredible how talented this guy was. But anyway, so he was doing this series of posters, right? And this was like the 11th one or something. And Christopher Zavisa ran out of money when he was halfway through. So he just quit working on this. And he never went back and finished it. Now, me, and I understand that, drawing for free, if you don't have another job, if your profession is drawing for free is not the best way to make a living. But when you got a piece that is this freaking brilliant, I'm stunned that he just, even in his spare time or whatever, did not finish this. Because he's over halfway done with it. Look at how freaking awesome this piece is. Even what he's done is awesome. I'd still buy this. Well, I couldn't afford it, but half done. I mean, look at that. Look at those. Look at all this detail. This is all pen and ink. Bernie was a guy who started off as a brush guy. Look at this. What is this? This detailed stuff on his cape. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? God, this is so good. Look at all this. Look at this. What is going on here? He's got like some dragon statue back here with some naked girl riding him. And this is, I wish I hadn't said that. This is just incredible. You can kind of tell what's going on over here. There's like somebody's face right there. And there's more treasure. That's a sword probably right there. This kind of ornate water pot and stuff there. This looks like mountains and stuff in the background. So maybe a view out his window is what we were here. So you got to look at this and think, God, there really wasn't that much left to do. Oh, look at the detail on the cape. There's a time when I was really, really into Wrightson, and I could have emulated his inking style pretty well. I wouldn't trust myself to do it now. I'm too far removed from, I don't really look at Wrightson anymore. I do for, just for viewing pleasure, but not for, stylistically how I do things. I did all that in my youth, and so it's kind of ingrained in my brain. I would have to go back and sort of re-educate myself. I challenged Gary, almost did it. But he was just like, there's this back here. There's too much guesswork back here to kind of figure out in these pencil areas what to do. But oh my goodness. Ugh. Oh, I love this piece. And I first saw this in a look back. His big, the career retrospective he did when he was I think it was 1979. He wasn't even 30 years old. He's 29 years old in that book. Can you imagine someone doing a career retrospective on you when you're 29 years old? And the sad thing, and I hate to, I've said this before, but 1980 was it for Wrightson. That was when he peaked, and everything else was, I'm not saying he didn't do good work after that, but not like this, he didn't. And so here's a guy who peaked out when he was 30 years old. And so I guess it makes sense they do a retrospect of, but holy crap. I just wish that, and it's funny, Christopher Zavisa, the guy that ran out of money for this poster, is the one who published that book, A Look Back, the original version. And I would have loved if he could have waited until Wrightson had finished Frankenstein, so we could have got more Frankenstein pages in there. There's still a lot in there, but that would have been, oh, so good. And I bet you couldn't touch that piece for like under $70,000 or $80,000 right now. I'll bet. All right, and here's another favorite of mine, but he's kind of like, I've got a commission from Rudy, and I've got one from Nino. This is Alex Nino, Conan piece, probably the frontispiece to a like a Savage Tales or Savage Sword. Look at this. You want to talk about loose? Gee, many Christmas, but so cool. Look at these buildings back here. They're just like odd cracks and shapes, but they're so cool. This looks like a fat guy holding a lantern back here. I mean, what is going on back here? But this Conan is really cool. Look how rough that is. Man, it's all there. And the thing with Nino, his stuff gets so freaking crazy that if you commissioned him to do a piece for you, you have no freaking idea what you're going to get. So he's a guy, and he's well into his 80s, and so is Nebrace, and they still do shows. And they're still doing commissions and stuff that are remarkably good for guys their age. It's just incredible. But anyway, part of the Filipino invasion back in the 70s, Nino. Anyway, so my point being that I would go through these guys' books and look for stuff they'd already drawn and find a piece I liked, rather than commissioning them to do a piece because you're not sure what you're going to get. Because their stuff is so, I mean, Nino is just, he's out there. I mean, he is really out there. And everything he does is good, but it may not be something. Sometimes you look at his drawings, you can't even understand what's going on because they're so freaky weird. So I had him do I wanted him to do like a goblin or a troll. And he did the funkiest thing I'd ever seen in my book. It wasn't really what I wanted. And so I saw David Williams at San Diego, and David had showed me this Batman piece. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. He goes, yeah, I drew this and I had Nino ink it. And I went, it's freaking genius. So I did that. I drew a zombie coming out of the grave and gave it to Nino and said, ink this. And he inked it and he redrew it, but he gave me what I wanted. I knew I was going to get, and he gave me this really cool zombie piece. So I was able to manipulate the great Alex Nino to give me what I wanted. But there's like some really cool barbarian stuff he does that I'd love to have this piece. Kaiser Sose says, I'm late to the Conad universe, but this ongoing run really makes you appreciate the lore. Titan's doing a fantastic job hiring top quality people to do their books. And they're really good for what I read. I mean, I've got some collections here. I'm not caught up at all. But anyway, all right, this one you've seen before on this show, but doggone it. I discovered this just a couple of years ago, and this is a commission apparently from 1980, it looks like. Yeah, look at that from Nestor Redondo. That is Man Thing versus Swamp Thing. Are you kidding me? Oh, what I would give to own this piece. What I would give to own this piece. Look at that. Another guy we got 3 guys from the Filipino invasion in the 70s on this list. Look at that. Look at these trees and stuff and how funky that inking is on there. I would never think to ink them that way. It's so cool. And Redondo is the most traditional of the 3 that I like. Like Nebrace is very weird. Nino is another planet weird. And Redondo is more kind of what we're used to seeing, more traditional in his approach, but still they're just all, Redondo is probably the best illustrator of the 3 for just conventional illustration. Although Nino is, Nino is just, like I said, you got to be smoking weed like constantly, I think, to really get into Nino. But not that I've ever smoked weed that I would know from what I understand. Eric, if you want great Wrightson, you go back and get Creepy and Eerie magazines that he worked in. Those are the best. If you for comic work, that is the best comic work he's ever done. And check out the 1980, June 1980 Heavy Metal. And there's a Captain Stern story in there, which is the last great comic story he did, in my opinion. But I have a very educated opinion. So anyway, I would do something like this, but I don't know that I could do it justice like he did. If it hadn't been for Wrightson, Nestor Redondo's Swamp Thing would be legendary. But he followed Wrightson, and Wrightson's was legendary. It's just crazy. He never did Man Thing that I'm aware of, so that was like cool to see this. This had to have been a commission. This goes all the way back 1980. There it is, Nestor Redondo. This had to be a commission. Or something for a fanzine or something maybe, but I mean, what you can't, this could not have been published by Marvel or DC because it has, the crossover thing there. So it has to be a commission, but man, this is another one. If I had money to burn, I would find out who owns this and I would see what it would take to pry this away from them. Yeah, just so cool. All these guys, their design sense and stuff is just impeccable, along with their just skill, their draftsmanship skills. So there you go. That was a little fun aside. Instead of doing covers, jump in there and look at some rando artwork like that. I kind of enjoyed that. I hope you did too. Well, now we're on to the portion of our show that I know you've all been waiting for. Maybe this week might be a little disappointing because I don't have a lot of videos, but I do have something else that goes along with the subject. Yes, once again, it is time to look into the cryptid universe. Now, before we get to, I only have a couple of videos, but before we get to those, I found this, which I found to be fairly, well, it was more than fairly. I thought it was pretty interesting. There's this website called the Cryptid Vault. And in the tradition of our good friend James Sequential Treasures, who demands artwork, look at this. Some really cool watercolors and a catalog of water cryptids. So let's take a look at the Loch Ness Monster here. So there you go. That's Nessie. Now, we don't really count Nessie on this show anymore because she's been thoroughly debunked. I did it on this show. I brought evidence. So we can just move on from her. But look at this. This is a cool, I love this. I should do one of these. I love great whites. I love great whites and saltwater crocodiles because they're like monsters. They're like real monsters. Now, this is essentially just a great white, but he's saying it's a megalodon, which I find a hard time believing they still exist, but wouldn't it be cool unless you're getting eaten by one? But again, a nice watercolored sketch drawing. Look at this. Here's the Kraken. Now, this is a weak effort on the Kraken, although I do enjoy the watercolor still sketch, but that looks just like an octopus. You gotta do something. I'll give it a little bit more juice to be a Kraken. I guess as long as you're not drawing the butt Kraken, I think we're probably fine. Now, what is this? Explain this to me. This is the Nucklelavee? That can't be how it's pronounced. Nuclavee, maybe? A skinless horse rider hybrid rises from the ocean around Orkney, and its breath alone can wilt crops and sicken entire islands. Okay, I have to ask the question, what the heck is a horse doing in water? See, some of these don't make sense. Why isn't he riding like some sort of weird sea serpent? Right? What is he riding a horse for? That makes no sense to me. So I'm going to say debunked on that already before we even get there. Now, this is cool. This is the bunny, the bunyip. Again, look at this thing. This looks like sort of a prehistoric sloth or some kind of weird animal. Australia's lurking water spirit, feared by indigenous peoples for thousands of years. Why are they fearing? Why is a mammal living in the water? Again, I'm calling BS on this, but I do like the draw. That's a really nice drawing. Look at that drawing. Look at the musculature in here, the weight. These are nice sketches. I don't know who did the art, but really did a nice look. They got all this lore you can go in there, and I'm not really interested in reading all the lore. Okay, now look at this. The Kelpie, a shape-shifting water horse. Okay, so this, at least this kind of looks like it could live in the water, kind of a dragonish kind of, I'll go with this. In the Scottish locks. So he's in there with Nessie. They're fighting for, again, really cool. They should do a book. I don't know who this guy is, but, oh no, we got all the cryptids here. I just want to stay on the water cryptids. Let's go back here to, here we go. Okay, this is Champ, pretty much the same as Nessie. People are, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with the chat because I'm going through this, but Kelpies mean bad things are going to happen, says Maroni. I know you guys seem to be like into your Celtic lore, so good for you. This is Champ, of course, from Lake Champlain. And is that in Illinois? I assume it is. No. Waters between Vermont and New York. Okay. Looks like Nessie to me. That's a Diplodocus, but I'm calling BS. And now for our Canadian friends, Ogopogo, Canada's answer to Nessie, coiling through the depths of the Okanagan Lake. Not a lot of information on this one either. Every once in a while, you'll see a sighting, but see, this is like something enormous has been surfacing in the Argentine lake for over a century. We're going to call this the Nahulito, also known as Nahul, whatever. Again, another version of a Nessie, a Diplodocus, sea monster, kind of old dinosaur. Okay, the sea serpent, that looks dumb. I don't want to go there. What is going on here? The Ninjun. Now, is this like a ninja? The Ninjun, also known as the Antarctic humanoid. Now, I like this. I got to find out some more information on this guy. A ghostly white humanoid, doesn't look ghostly white here, shape rising from the Antarctic waters, seen by Japanese fishermen. I like this. I'm writing this down. Ninjun. Let's see if I can find out anything on him for next week. Ninjun. Anybody ever heard of this Ninjun? Eric and Boyd Christian says, does the band Oingo Boingo ride the Ogo Pogo? That's a good question. Does anybody heard of this? I don't know. I don't know about the Ninja, but I want to know more. We have a pretty good audience going right now. Guys, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so, just for my my ego. Appreciate it very much. See, a lot of these things look this like the Morag. Look at this Scotland lake monster. They're just making stuff up at this point. Okay, what's going on here? The Morgwar, also known as the sea giant Cornish sea serpent. I like this dude. Now, see, this I would incorporate into a story. This is a cool looking creature. A humped sea serpent has been spotted off the coast of Cornwall since the 1900s, sometimes close enough to shore that beachgoers scatter. I wonder if there's any film on this. Let's see what I can find on him too. I don't think there is. I think this is more legend than actual reality, but let's see. The Morgar. It's crazy talk is what that is. Okay, we got a bunch of, look at these are all like dumb. Selma, that's cool, but why did you name her Selma? Norway's lake monster has been sighted over 500 times in a small mountain lake, making it one of the most reported freshwater cryptids in Europe. How did they get this? Again, these sketches are awesome though, aren't they? Selma. All right, I'm writing this down too. I wonder if that's where Selma Hayek got her name. I hope not. She looks way better than that. Okay, how is a sea cow a cryptid? How is this? The stellar sea cow, just because they said it's hunted to extinction, but they say it still lives. So it doesn't make it a cryptid. Okay, that's just dumb. It shouldn't even be on this list. What do we got? More. Look at how many times are they going to draw Nessie? All right, this guy. What is going on with this dude? The Vodi Anoi, a bloated, frog-faced old man. That doesn't look frog-faced. Lurks at the bottom of the Slavic rivers, drowning the careless and keeping their souls in teapots. Okay. Why, if you're living underwater, what do you need a teapot for? This doesn't make any sense. I mean, I like the idea of an old man underwater. Kind of, it's kind of fun, but the teapot thing, some of these, if you're going to make up a legend, at least make some sense. What is this? Trunco? Are you kidding me? A massive white carcass with an elephant-like trunk that washed ashore in South Africa. I don't believe it. Trunco. We shall see if I can find a picture of this. Trunco. Oh, brother. Are you kidding me? Why would that thing be in the water? I'm telling you. Okay, now we're getting out of the water. I just wanted to stay with the water cryptids here. Look at that. That's a dolphin. Look at these things. The Bear Lake monster. First reported by Mormon settlers. Then it has to be true. That wasn't very nice. Okay. That's a cool looking dragon. Look, he's got no hind legs though. Well, this is the Brosno dragon. Russia's lake monster reportedly swallowed a Mongol war party's horse whole and has been spotted by modern fishermen with sonar equipment. I don't believe that. Oops, I went to the wrong place again. What is this? Globster. Also known as the blob or the unidentified organic mass. Are you kidding me? Look, there's mud. It must be a cryptid. Massive, fleshy, unidentifiable masses that wash ashore. I've seen this stuff. Defying easy explanation until lab results come in. Yeah, we'll keep waiting on that. Some just gelatinous fat mass washes up on shore and they're like, oh, it's a cryptid. Cryptozoologist. Okay, now I like this. There's way too many of these. Issy. Japan's answer to Nessie. Lives in a volcanic crater lake on the southern. Now that's the stuff legends are made of. Like a volcanic crater lake. I like that. So it came up from the bowels of the earth, pardon my expression. And it's pretty cool looking. I like the head on it. I could go with that. Let's just do a couple more here. This guy looks cool. Who's this? The Mudgelwank. A colossal water creature in Australia's. Look at that's an alligator. It's a crocodile. I mean, are you kidding me? It's a creature in Australia's Murray River that punishes anyone who disturbs its territory with a wasting sickness. Yeah, it's called eating your flesh. That's not a wasting sickness. That's a painful, horrifying, quick death. But is that or is that not a crocodile? These guys. All right. Ooh. Okay, this is, hello, sea otter. Hello, not a cryptid. Oh, what do we got here? Mermaid. Called a ree, a marine humanoid reported by fishermen in New Ireland. With a woman's upper body and a fish-like lower half. There's like, some of it seems to be appealing, another half of it not so much. Let's see, what do we got here? Okay, I'm bringing this up because it's so dumb. Okay, so this is a lion with an alligator head that lives in the water, but he's got like, why would he have a furry neck thing if he lived in the water? This is a dingo neck, and I'm telling you, like I made this up in third grade. This is not, I can't even go there. It's like not even legit cryptozoology. Okay, well, there's no such thing as legitimate cryptozoology, but this looks kind of cool here. Alkali Lake Monster, a 40-foot beast. Oh, Nebraska. Now, you know I'm a big Nebraska fan. A 40-foot beast in a shallow Nebraska lake where something that size should have nowhere to hide. And yet, it doesn't. I kind of like it, though. Kind of like it. All right, so I wanted to show you guys that. I thought that was somewhat interesting, right? All these, look at this dude on a horse. What's he doing in the water? The main reason I wanted to show these is because I think the watercolor sketches are really cool. So, and this is, oh, are they? Oh, no. All those illustrations are AI, at least. Oh, it's so disappointing. Screw AI. All right. Well, thanks, Roy, for ruining the show. He shattered my dreams. Those are pretty cool watercolor drawings, though. Pisses me off, AI. I'm going to do my own watercolor drawings and show I can do just as good as AI can, just not as fast. All right, so what do we think about this? I call this casual Bigfoot. I think it speaks for itself. This is up in Chinook Pass in Washington, allegedly. Here we go. You can see our buddy right there. Is he going to the 7-Eleven? Look at this walk. Are you trying to convince me that that's how a cryptid, half man, half monkey would walk? This is a dude strolling along a path. Do. So, and why does it stop right there? We have to assume, right, that this is AI, don't we? Why does the video just goes for about 6-7 seconds and then glitches and stops? See that glitch right there? Now, see, they're making the point that, what is that? This was like this person's, see, they're trying to say this is legit because those pictures they just came up, that's off this person's website that loaded this, and they have no other cryptid videos. So like that's a legitimate reason to believe this is true, because someone who's never posted Bigfoot videos suddenly posts one because they know he can get clicks. That's why they post it. They're just saying Kelsey's not putting the effort in anymore. That does not. He's just walking like a dude in a suit, which I don't think it's a dude in a suit, although it could be a dude in a suit. But in this day and age, why do you have to do a dude in a suit when you can just AI a dude in a suit, or use some sort of program, digital program? Was that belly fat? I hope that's belly fat. And then make it blurry so you can't really see it that well. As far as performance art goes, that's not very good. All right, what else we got here? All right, this is trail cam footage, allegedly. Alleged trail cam footage. Does that, or doesn't it all look like Ron Perlman, or is it just me? Now there's two shots here. This one, now I like this one, and I will say this: the face, like the Ron Perlman face. My gosh, these blurry photographs are making me see everything blurry. The Ron Perlman face is consistent. I'll give it that. But we got splotchiness with the hair, which is kind of nice. I mean, I mean, I kind of like this. The hands, the lighting on the hands, it could just be the lighting on the hands, but they seem kind of pale, where we don't really see that on the face. Gollum Wolf says it looks too smart to be Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman does say some interesting things, doesn't he? Yep. Andy Montemayor, I'm sorry, I cannot see. I'm like, my vision is getting blurry. I think I'm, what do you go when you go sugar blind, when you have too much sugar and you can't see? But I think I would have to say this is digitally created, right? It's not bad. I kind of like it, actually. I wonder if this is a sculpture. Look how it's standing, just kind of like posing there. I wonder if it's a sculpture. They put it in front of like a tree and took a picture of it, or like a, so it looks like it's a tree. That would be hilarious. I do like the design, though. I have to admit, kind of like the design on this. There you go. Captain Bippo says it's a 6-inch high diorama. I wouldn't be surprised. Get back to like miniatures, right? That's cool. Island of Dr. Moreau. Aaron's got that itis. I do. I'm seriously. I might be having a. Do you guys ever get ocular migraines? I get those all the time. All righty. Well, I wish I had more videos, but that's what we went through. Like, the unfortunately the AI watercolor sketches, that pisses me off. I wish I'd known that. Anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for today's show. Of course, always when I come to an end, we have like the biggest audience. So, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe, please do so. If you're just tuning in now, go back and watch the beginning. This is a variety show, a lot of good stuff on here, a lot of good artwork, movie talk, all sorts of fun stuff. So thank you guys for joining me. And those who backed Barbaric Adventures during the show, thank you so much. Those who've previously backed, thank you. Those who are yet to back, please consider doing so. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Just go to the site, check it out. The artwork will blow you away. 3 stories, actually, well, 3 and a preview story by me, David Williams, and Dan Lawless. It's really great stuff. Take a moment, take a look, consider backing. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Appreciate all you guys. It's great fun as always. Couldn't do it without you. We'll see you next week right here on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night, everybody.